welcome once again to Spotlight, and we have Stephen Brooke with us. Stephen is a retired GP. I looked at his, shouldn't admit to this, but I did, his biography, his mini biog. I have never in my life seen a CV, let's call it, that's so complete from a GP. He's done everything. Welcome, Stephen.
Thank you very much, Rodney.
You've been into everything. We're going to talk about COVID in particular, the coronavirus. But we've got other things to mention a little bit first, because you're very much into coaching now, and more than that, into the psychology of everything. Stress one thinks about when one thinks about the virus. How do you train people to get on with the virus? Do you tell them, oh, ignore it, it'll eventually go away?
Well, indeed, we are being advised to avoid exposure to the virus, and that's very wise and very necessary. But one of the big things is we need to replace fear with optimism and replace fear with faith, because I think buying into the narrative that says, this is terrible, it's very dangerous, there's nothing we can do about it, we're helpless, actually has a bad effect on your ability to cope. So that's one of my big messages, is be careful what we spend most of our time listening to, and find ways to look at optimism and good signs and good things.
Yeah, well, that seems sensible. I mean, we've been mentioning this on various programs we do before. When one turns on the news, the first thing one sees is an older person struggling for his last breath. And it's appalling. And I keep saying that's not news, it's just sensationalism.
Yes. What I would like is to see a lot of focus on what we can do to help ourselves specifically, and to boost our resilience and our potential immunity to the disease that's going around.
Well, yes, let's start there. COVID-19, how can we protect ourselves? Is there anything we can do apart from keeping 2 meters apart?
Well, I'd like to say a little bit about our immune system. I should make it clear that I was a general practitioner until 3 years ago in England, in Wiltshire, and I have retired, although I've recently been reinstated because I have responded to the call to be available to help if I'm needed. But our immune system is very important. It's a complex system of cells and antibody proteins, and it's our vital defense against many threats, especially infections. And COVID-19 patients are overcome when their immune system is overwhelmed or is wrongly attacking their own organs, especially the lungs.
Does it affect other organs besides the lungs?
It does, but the lungs seem to take the biggest hit for some reason.
Yeah, we've seen recent revelations of how a hospital in Lancashire is sort of pummeling people and turning them on one side. I suppose that's how they can treat pneumonia, just to get the fluids out of the way.
Yes, try and increase the chance of getting oxygen into the body by getting rid of blockages.
Yeah. Are you happy the way the public health services are coping with this on their adverts on television?
Well, I think they're doing a lot to help us, but there is one thing I would like to see a little bit more of. That would be telling us the evidence that immune system support is important for both resisting becoming infected and in fighting infections. And there's a lot of research now available, particularly through an organization called Orthomolecular Medicine. We have a website, orthomolecular.org, and there's very good evidence for the role of vitamin C in both prevention and treatment. I'm not making any great claims for something which is a very difficult disease to manage, but I think there is evidence that's not being told to us.
Oh, right. Is it actually being used in treatment anywhere at the moment?
Yes, it is. There are several examples around the world. Um, there is China, there's New York, and recently I heard about South Korea, where vitamin C is being used as a treatment. Um, Professor Hemilia, I probably haven't got his name right, at the University of Helsinki, Public Health, he's been doing research for over 40 years into vitamin C. He has published research showing that it could cut time on a ventilator by 25%.
Mm.
So that's one example of effectiveness. It's being used in China. In fact, they're doing a number of trials in China. And I see a report from March the 31st from Dr. Richard Cheng, MD, a United States board certified specialist, saying that so far they've seen a great deal of success treating coronavirus patients with intravenous vitamin C. He cites 50 cases that were treated with the high dose, and the first bit of good news was that all patients who received the intravenous vitamin C improved, and there had been no mortality at the time of the report among those 50. And those patients had a hospital stay of about 3 to 5 days shorter than the other patients. In New York, they're following protocols that they're learning from China. Dr. Andrew Weber, involved in the Northwell Health facilities on Long Island, is describing the results. He's saying vitamin C is helping a tremendous amount. And he says that multiple hospitals on Manhattan's Upper East Side are using vitamin C as a coronavirus treatment throughout the system. And apparently it's being used to treat hundreds of patients. And then finally, in South Korea, Dr. Andrew Saul, the editor-in-chief of the Orthomolecular Medicine News Service, mentions a South Korean medical doctor who is treating patients with injections, reporting that these people are getting well in a matter of days. So I'm hearing enough reports for me to take it very seriously that this is worth trying and that the preliminary results are good. So I would like to hear a bit more about that, I think, from our own health services.
Yeah, it's sensible to be cautious. I mean, the flavour of the month so far has been the drug to treat malaria. This is the answer. Let's get it inside anybody that wants it. And then you hear other reports. Oh, it can kill you. And that seems to be fading now. It appeared that Donald Trump, in fact, was in favour of this 2 or 3 weeks ago. Has it gone from the scene? Does it not work?
I understand it is being trialled in a number of places in conjunction with other drugs as well. The hydroxychloroquine being in conjunction with an antibiotic called azithromycin and a mineral called zinc, which of course is well known to us. And they are getting encouraging results. So I can't remember exactly where from. So yes, that is happening. I think the thing is, as soon as there's something that's proposed, it always generates diverse reactions. There's claims that are made that it's the one and only thing, which obviously is not true. Then there's claims that it's absolutely useless and there's no evidence at all, and that's often not quite true. But somewhere in between, there is a place for many things. As with most causes of diseases in the medical world, we realize that there's a balance of many factors at work, genetics and environment and infectious agents and so on, and the body's ability to fight it. And likewise, the treatments for it tend to be complex, and we really need to be trying out everything that we can, particularly if it's cheap.
Well, indeed. I mean, I hear these reports. Oh, we can't do that to you. We've got to have a double-blind trial, and this will take months and months. And you think, well, for goodness sake, the chances of that person dying are probably 60, 70%.
This is the problem, yes. Now we should be doing the double-blind trials right now, straight away, and not delaying. Now is the time to be doing them, yes.
But why go through all these protocols? Is it just tradition, or are we afraid of lawyers?
A bit of both. And in order to test a drug, it is really necessary to go through rigorous safety procedures. And it does take a long time to produce a new drug, a lot of expense. But for established drugs like hydroxychloroquine and chloroquine, which are already used in other conditions, and we know their side effect profile, and we know the contraindications, there's every reason why those should be used at appropriate doses in patients who are not supposed to avoid them, and see the results.
What about injections as opposed to tablets of vitamin C? Are tablets just not strong enough?
The delivery into the blood works more effectively if it's given intravenously, particularly in people who are severely ill. The problem with people who are severely ill with what's called sepsis, which is the advanced state of inflammation that the body comes into when it's fighting a serious infection, the body uses up its vitamin C. So vitamin C works not only because it helps to boost our cells that fight germs, it boosts natural killer cells you might have heard of, and some stuff called interferon that helps to kill viruses. But vitamin C gets used up, and we need to give patients vitamin C because they have desperately low levels of vitamin C when they're trying to fight the very infection that needs vitamin C. So that's the reason why people need high doses intravenously, which is absorbed more effectively than taking it through the mouth, through tablets, which then have to go through the stomach and so on.
Well, can we do anything now? Should we be taking tablets, or can we get enough vitamin C through food?
Well, here's the other side of the matter. We've been talking about vitamin C for treatment, and in particular for people who are seriously ill. And then we're talking about the intravenous high-dose vitamin C in terms of grams per day. But if we're talking about prevention and helping ourselves, there's at least two main things to attend to. One is healthy eating, because if you're eating a rubbish diet, that's going to counteract a lot of whatever else you're trying to supplement yourself. A healthy diet is always the basis for any healthy lifestyle, particularly if you're going to be taking supplements. So we can help ourselves by healthy diet and by specific ingredients. And there are some specific ingredients that have been promoted to help our immune system in the current context.
What about vitamin D? That seems to be another flavor of the month.
Yes, vitamin D is getting a lot of attention at the moment, and the recommendation from the president of the British Society of Ecological Medicine, Dr. Damien Downing, used to be called environmental medicine, is now called ecological medicine, is to take 2,000 international units daily of vitamin D, vitamin D3. Of course, we don't get this through our food because our body makes vitamin D, and it's in the skin where we need sunlight that the first step of the production of what's ultimately vitamin D takes place. So getting out into the sunshine, avoiding sunburn, but getting ourselves into the sunshine is very important. But lots of us can't get enough vitamin D that way. And there's an interesting, a sad link that there's a higher death rate among healthcare workers who have brown skin, those from Asia. And it's thought that possibly that's due to the fact that they don't absorb vitamin D so well. I think there's a lot of discussion about that. But bottom line is it's good to take vitamin C for prevention and also vitamin D, not because it's going to guarantee that you won't catch the infection, but that it gives you a better chance of fighting it if it comes your way.
Interesting.
The protocol suggested by Dr. Damien Downing for all of us to help ourselves involves vitamin C of 3 grams a day, he suggests. And there is a rider to add there. Vitamin C has the effect of causing diarrhea if we take more than our body can cope with, which for many of us is 2 grams or 3 grams. That's not a side effect and it's not dangerous. It's just the indication that we've taken as much as our body can handle and absorb. And that's a sign that you shouldn't take any more than that. So vitamin C, vitamin D, magnesium is what's recommended by Dr. Downing, zinc and selenium, which are 3 minerals which are widely available from health food shops. They all help us to have a more effective response to things like COVID-19. Again, no guarantee, but with medicine, it's always a matter of trying to balance, trying to increase your chances by doing all you can. Healthy attitude, healthy lifestyle, healthy food, supplements, so that you're just increasing your chances of seeing off anything that attacks you, whether it's an infection of a virus or a bacteria or whatever.
Can a government do anything else at the moment? Obviously, each government has its own way of doing things throughout the world. Sweden, of course, have let people circulate. Not the older people, one must say, but the rest are still going in pubs and restaurants. Are they taking too much of a chance?
It's very difficult to evaluate what the impact of a particular strategy is. I'm seeing reports that the death rate is similar in different countries, irrespective of whether there's a severe lockdown or not. The problem is every country is different. Every country has a different set of factors that may be helping its citizens to be more resistant or to be less resistant. And so it's very difficult to get an overview. Each government is doing its best to weigh up the pros and cons and make its decision about how much we should be allowed to be in touch, contact with each other. Yeah. And I think it's changing as the data about the mortality is emerging, and the projected mortality. I think in the United Kingdom there was a projected mortality of between 250,000 and 1 million, which was a model that was given to the government. Now we're led to expect that the numbers are considerably smaller than that. Again, we can't be precise, but as emerging evidence comes with statistics, we need to be flexible, I think, to adjust policies in one way or another.
Yeah, it's a long job. Finally, one thinks of a country like India, and obviously they're affected. But if you look at all the cities throughout the world, they have really been clobbered. And one thinks of India, where so many people in a small area, and you've just got to look at the Indian trains, which are a bit of a joke, and yet they don't seem to suffer as much. Somebody's hinted, and I don't know whether there's a grain of truth in this, but they've been on the quinine type drugs for a long time, and maybe that has affected them, and it's caused the virus to go away.
I suppose that could be a factor, but I don't feel qualified to comment on that. I know very little about India.
Well, it's been most instructive. Thank you, Stephen. And the next time we get a medical problem, we'll get him back in. I hope it's been some assurance to people. We've got to cheer up. We've got to be positive. Thank you so much, Stephen.
You're very welcome. Thank you very much.